Hello. Uh, I'm sorry if the audio might be a little bit off on this video. It's mainly gonna be because, I'm sitting quite far away from the camera right now. I'm using a 50mm lens and I'm down in Greece. I didn't actually bring my DJI mic, so I'm using the Sony EasyM B1M. And I'm also having a beer. Nice. But I want to talk about the expectations that we have on camera gear. And more specifically, right now, the DJI Action 5 and the GoPro 13. I will say that both of these are great cameras, right? Both of these are performing incredibly well. We're just in there nitpicking on multiple different things. But I've seen so many videos ever since the release of the DJI Action 5 complaining about different stuff. Same thing with the GoPro, and I'm a part of it too because I'm complaining on different things.
GoPro only lasted for 1 hour and 42 minutes.
The fun thing is that I see a lot of comments saying that, we're expecting this and we're expecting this and we're expecting that. And all of these things that people are saying is something that you can expect from a $5,000 camera, not something that is supposedly going to be expected from a $350 camera. I do get it. I think that the bitrate issue that DJI had with the DJI Action 5 and Action 4 is a really bad move. I don't like when companies are downgrading their new product just in favor of something, try to make it look better that way. But I do think that DJI will release a firmware update to fix that issue in a future release, hopefully. But what I'm seeing when I'm looking through these different videos, and also people that are commenting on my videos, is that, hey, you're paid by DJI, so you're not telling the truth, and you're paid by this and that company, so you're not telling the truth. Now, I've been working with DJI for a long time, and I will say that in the beginning, when I was doing that, I did feel scared about saying my true opinion about things, mainly because I wanted to have the work in order to be able to provide for my family. I mean, when it comes to making commercials, it's kind of the same thing as working with a brand. Even though you might not be standing 100% behind it, you might be 70 or 80% behind it, then you might be able to still make the commercial for that brand. Same thing goes with making videos for YouTube. Most of the time, when I say yes to products and videos that I make on my channel, I stand behind the product because I think it's an interesting product. It's not necessarily going to be the best product on the market, because I think the only time that that has actually happened and made me feel like, you know what, this is the shit, was back in 2020 when Sony released the a7S III. Ever since then, I haven't had that, whoa, this is huge feeling. But getting back to the action cameras, I think it's very interesting how we now are comparing very specific things on these cameras, considering what these cameras are mostly used for. When I'm making my vlogs, I'm working as a professional YouTuber, and most of the time I try to use a camera like this to get the best image quality possible, and also to be able to still tell my story in the best way possible. I do like using the latest and greatest camera gear, and I do find it very interesting to actually be able to experiment with the new lenses and the new tech that I have available whenever I'm making my videos. But for a lot of people, when it comes to action cameras, it's more so about just picking it up and starting to make videos. I think that that is the most important thing. And when you see me and a bunch of other camera YouTubers sitting there comparing the different things, it takes away the fun of things. And I get that. I feel it should be more about like, hey, here's a new camera, let me just show what it can do, and then just enjoy the process of me creating that video for you, so see it as a bit of an entertainment. I do think that when you have a sponsored video and you state review in the title, or when you say review in the video, it will be a little bit biased. It will not feel correct. And I've actually stated to both Sony, DJI, Insta360, and a bunch of other companies that I do not make paid videos that is going to be stated review in the title. And the reason for it is because I don't want you to watch a video where I say that this camera is the best or this camera is the best, meanwhile it's actually paid for by a brand. But the videos that I do make that are sponsored contains my personal opinion. But I also want you to know that whenever I make one of those videos, I do get like key points from the company saying like, hey, we would like to highlight these points. Could you make that happen in the video? Most of the time, I actually try to make the video and just have fun with it. I try to say like, hey, this point, and this point, without diving in and saying like, this is the best I've ever experienced. But I do also understand the responsibility that I have as a camera influencer to provide you with the most accurate results and, you know, the things that I think is the most accurate after the testing that I've done, because I am very privileged to be able to use these products before they hit the market in most cases. And that is also why I do the follow-up videos, such as, you know, the Action 5 versus the GoPro 13. That is like not paid for. It's no one that is looking through that video. It's just my opinions and my opinions alone. And I feel like nowadays when you see comments of people saying like, hey, you're favoring the DJI Action 5. I don't like your stuff because you're paid for by DJI, or vice versa if that might happen. That's not actually the case, because I get paid for to make the video, which is the standalone video on YouTube. And of course, I'm going to try to make that as good as possible with the product that I have at hand. It's sort of like a given. Otherwise, it would be the same thing as if you were to run up to a client and say like, hey, do you want to pay me $10,000? I'm just going to make a, you know, kind of half-assed video. Would that be fine? Probably not. If you want to work with YouTube, this is going to be a part of that. And I feel like a lot of people should understand that if you receive a product before it's actually released, that is going to put you in the pocket of being biased, no matter what. You can say like, hey, this video is not sponsored, but I got this sent to me. Yeah, we get it. That's still going to be biased because you got that sent to you before release. It doesn't really matter what you say, because you'll end up promoting that product either way. And that is also one of the things that I've mentioned multiple different times, is that never make free videos for companies. You have a brand to live up to when you are the influencer personas, exactly the way that I am. And I try to stick by the brands that I believe in. It might not be the case that DJI drops the best product every single year, but they do drop products that I use every single day. And that for me is good enough to actually be standing behind them. Same thing goes for Sony, same thing goes for Artlist, and same thing goes for Motion VFX, as I've stated before. And I can actually stand behind those brands and say like, hey, you know, I like your stuff. It's fun to make videos on your products. But going back just a little bit to the action cameras alone, I think it's very important to remember that the biggest use case of these cameras is not going to come from professionals that are doing this on a day-to-day basis, because we are most likely just going to go for the better camera in most scenarios. And it's not going to be Red Bull, and it's not going to be the incredible extreme divers or whatever it might be. It's going to be the everyday Joe that is working hard to actually get the cash to be able to purchase these cameras. And if you look at the use case scenarios that an everyday Joe would have, it's probably going to be vlogging. It's probably going to be recording some time lapses maybe, and, you know, hanging out with family, recording that kind of stuff. That's going to be the key features for that person when they're purchasing an action camera. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. I am one of those everyday Joes, because I don't use action cameras for that much, except for when I'm flying FPV. Other than that, just put it on my car and get some cool shots, but that's pretty much it. I am no action dude. Like, I don't do action stuff. I talk about cameras, but I also want to show you the best of these cameras. That's sort of like my thing. I think that we should just enjoy the fact that these action cameras have come such a long way to actually be able to provide us with such an incredible detail and image quality that they can nowadays, and use the cameras to create what we want to create with them. I will still make comparison videos between the multiple different cameras that are on the market and the cameras that I use on a daily basis. But it's also, you know, it's also very easy to get blind about where we are and just thinking about what we want to have. Right now, we have something really, really incredible in both the GoPro 13, the Action 5 Pro, the Action 4, and the Insta360. I'm like, if you have the Action 4, and you don't upgrade, then don't. There's no reason for it. If you have the GoPro 11, just like me, then don't upgrade, because there's no need in getting the 13 because there's nothing new with it. I just wanted to make this video because I felt like there's been so much discussion about which camera is the best, even though all of these cameras are made for different purposes and performs differently depending on what you use them for. And I think that that is the key thing. Get the camera that you like the most, enjoy that camera, and have fun with it. Thank you for watching. I'm going to drink my beer.